Welcome to Forge College. Let's dive right into this explainer on compiling evidence and metrics for the firedancer-validator. This sits right inside our capstone project on the architectural efficiency of Firedancer, which wraps up the Advanced Validator Architecture module in our Advanced Solana Concepts track. Now, if you survived our last lesson, the capstone kickoff where we synthesized those Firedancer insights, you'll remember we mapped out some pretty bold, theoretical claims on the whiteboard. While today, we're putting the dry erase markers down. We're shifting from theoretical hype to hard, empirical proof. It's time to roll up our sleeves and actually get our hands on the data.
We're officially adopting a digital detective's mindset today. Poking fun at vague claims like, hey, it feels faster, or the vibes are high, is easy. But fast vibes don't exactly survive a rigorous engineering review. We need to ditch the qualitative fluff and drill down to sharp, quantitative reality. We're talking about proving exactly 420 transactions per second with a 12.5 millisecond latency. Because proving your architectural theories with cold, hard numbers, that is what true engineering is all about.
Okay, here's our roadmap for building a repeatable digital forensics workflow. We'll go from claims to hard evidence. Look at 3 vital performance indicators. Equip your telemetry toolkit, extract and normalize the data, compile your final artifacts, and finally, validate your evidence checkpoint. Let's jump in.
Section 1. From claims to hard evidence. Let's bridge the gap from those kickoff hypotheses to a tangible, completely reproducible data gathering process. To do this, we use telemetry. If you're new to the concept, think of telemetry like slapping a high-end fitness smartwatch on an Olympic sprinter. We aren't just standing on the sidelines guessing how fast they are based on how sweaty they look, right? We're measuring exact heart rates and stride lengths. For our validator, we're measuring things like the exact CPU time per verified transaction, straight from the source. By passing a vague claim, like, say, efficient CPU usage, through our telemetry funnel, we transform it into a strict, measurable metric, CPU time per verified transaction. We want the averages, sure, but more importantly, we want to see the extreme edges, like the 99th percentile. Gathering these targeted metrics right now is going to give you the exact raw material you need for your quantitative analysis later.
Moving on to Section 2. 3 vital performance indicators. Every detective needs their key pieces of evidence.
Consider this your telemetry cheat sheet. Our 3 vital metrics map directly to specific Firedancer components. First up, transactions per second tests your consensus throughput using a bench client. Second, end-to-end latency maps to the RPC adapter, which we track through trace logs. And finally, RPC tail latency at the 99th percentile tests the I/O offload paths using Prometheus summaries.
So why are we so obsessed with that 99th percentile for RPC tail latency? Because average latency completely hides your worst-case scenarios. If Firedancer's architecture truly offloads I/O paths effectively, it should reduce the bottleneck under heavy parallel load. Tracking that 99th percentile is absolutely crucial. It proves our hypothesis that the system stays responsive even when it's literally being hammered with requests.
All right, Section 3, equipping your telemetry toolkit. Let's open up the bag and get our workspace set up.
You really don't need a massive, complicated software suite for this. Just a few trusty tools: Node or Cloudbreak export access, curl to fetch your data, JQ to slice up that JSON, and Python 3 with pandas and requests to do the heavy lifting. Crucially, stay organized. Set up a capstone/metrics/directory with 3 subfolders: raw for the original logs, processed for clean data, and annotations for your notes.
Now, quick aside, if your Python is a little rusty, or if command line tools like curl and JQ feel a bit foreign, don't sweat it. You can always check out some of the other development programs at Forge College to get those foundational skills up to speed. Having strong scripting basics makes this data extraction smooth as butter. Section 4, extracting and normalizing data. Let's fire up the assembly line and turn those massive log files into clean, usable datasets.
We keep this minimal and repeatable. Step 1, we use a simple curl command to fetch the raw text logs from the Prometheus metrics endpoint. Step 2, we use a native Python script to parse those lines, filtering only for the metrics we actually care about. And Step 3, we export that clean data into a nice, neat CSV or Parquet file. A simple Python loop handles this beautifully without any heavy overhead.
Listen, naming conventions matter immensely here. Your exported dataset absolutely must use these standard columns: UTC timestamps, node IDs, metric names, raw values, and the collection context.
If you don't normalize your data to this exact standard, your downstream analysis pipelines will crash. I guarantee it. Predictability is your best friend right now. If there's a golden rule for this entire capstone, it's this. Every architectural claim must be paired with a measurable metric and a documented collection context. Why? Because a metric of 50 milliseconds means something completely different if the node was a leader versus just a follower. Without documented context, your numbers are essentially useless.
Moving on to Section 5, compiling your final artifacts. It's time to seal the evidence and make your work completely reproducible.
Your capstone increment requires 3 distinct files to be considered complete, what we call the evidence bag. First, your process dataset, which is that CSV or Parquet file we just made. Second, an annotations file in JSON format. And third, a collection manifest, also in JSON format.
Let's break down those JSON files really quickly. The annotations file explicitly links your specific numbers back to your architectural theories, like mapping RPC tail latency directly to the tested hypothesis of firedancer's RPC adapter offload paths. The manifest guarantees that reviewers can reproduce your entire collection snapshot. It logs the metadata, time windows, scrape intervals, and the specific bench configurations running at that exact moment.
Finally, Section 6, validating your evidence checkpoint. Time for some quality assurance before we move to the analysis phase. You've got to walk through this sanity checklist to save yourself a massive headache later. Step 1. Verify your CSV contains the exact required column headers. Step 2. Confirm you have at least 3 distinct metrics present. Step 3. Check that your JSON files actually map back to your hypotheses correctly. And Step 4. Please ensure your values aren't clipped or zeroed out. You would be shocked how often someone accidentally scrapes a validator during an idle period. Nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to present a CSV full of zeros.
So, are your artifacts valid? Perfect. Once you've gone through that checklist and confirmed your file structures and basic sanity checks, push these pristine empirical inputs straight up to your Cloudbreak storage project folder. They're now safely stored and ready for the quantitative analysis notebooks to ingest.
Your toolkit is packed, your logs are parsed, your context is documented, and your evidence bag is sealed. So the question is, are you ready to actually quantify that efficiency? We'll be tackling the deep statistical comparisons in our next explainer. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to visit forge.college to dive deeper into this and a ton of other awesome Web3 topics. See you next time.